Hello there and welcome back to another tea time video with me, Meoni. This is where I get to sit down and talk to you guys as if you were in the same room as me and really go over some of the things that have been going on in my real life and also in the Final Fantasy video game that I play each week. So last week I actually missed out. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to put that one up. It wasn't the best anyway. You didn't really miss out on much. There wasn't too much to talk about. So I thought we'd sort of scrap it and go with one this week where I actually have something to discuss. So one of the final pieces of the puzzle I needed for my podcast was a way of recording my guests separately on a separate audio line. What I've come up with is essentially a two-computer setup, a bit like a streamer would have, and essentially we're using this new piece of technology that I invested into this month called the Go XLR. You might have seen these, they're quite fancy, they light up in lots of different colours. Mine is blue and pink at the moment, and you can change those. But essentially, it's a set of faders, it's a mixing desk, and a sound card that's external, as well as a soundboard as well. So you can actually record various samples and things that you want to line up for a podcast situation, such as intros to certain segments, musical pieces, and also fades to sort of like if we were doing this live, we would have some music segment whilst we actually put all the faders down for a break, that sort of thing. We also have on here as well, which probably will be used a lot less, is some of the effects as well. We have megaphone presets, robotic presets. We have auto-tuning on here, which is just nuts to think about. We also have like 8 bays of different sort of effects that we could sort of set as a preset. We can change the echo, the gender of the person speaking, the pitch, and indeed, of course, the bass and everything else, the treble, and really sort of control the audio that we're actually putting into the box. And there's lots of inputs on the back for various different sources and a lot of outputs that I'm going to output straight into Audacity as my final mix sort of thing. So this is something that I've wanted for the longest time. It is a little bit expensive, but in relative terms for what it actually does, I would highly recommend it. And I am going to be using this for all future videos as well. So it goes hand in hand with my new microphone. We're going to learn how to use this technology better over time as we try out new different settings. As you can hear from today's video, it's a slightly different mix than usual. And hopefully this one's a bit better than what we would usually have in the week. So yeah, it's been quite an interesting time. Apart from that, I've been quite busy outside of making videos for Final Fantasy XIV. I've been making a Halloween special. This is a new machinima that should come out on Halloween Day, I would hope. And yeah, it's quite exciting so far. I don't really want to talk about it too much. It's only a short, sort of like 4 or 5 minutes, but it's guaranteed to at least be as humorous as the past ones I've done. So if you enjoy my machinima, don't be alarmed, I am returning to that. I have got my creative spirit back, so to speak, and especially with this new toy I've got, this new mixing desk, it's going to be a lot easier to pull off some of the things that I couldn't do previously, or at least it should sound a little bit more professional than it did previously. That's fingers crossed. I don't know if that's actually going to happen at this point, if it's going to sound any good at all, but you know, the worst critic is always yourself, and believe me, I hate myself at this point in terms of the videos I do. So, you know, usually it results in a better actual final project if you don't actually like it. You keep changing it. But that's obviously my opinion. So in terms of Final Fantasy news, let's talk briefly about what's been happening. Not a lot has really been happening, has it? It's been a bit of a lull in content. I think pretty much all I've been doing is logging on and doing PvP and MSQ roulette and basically some alliance raids just to farm some more Moogle tomes. I've got both of the birds now. I'm working on some of the other sort of nondescript items. There's not really much more I want from my Moogle tomes. I've probably done a bit too much. I was mostly doing PvP recently because of the fast queue times. I've done Rival Wings. It was quite a lot of fun to actually queue up for that and get an instant queue this weekend. I think Revival Wings, which is the community that sort of arranges that, were having groups, so it was pretty much instant queue all weekend on European servers, which was a lot of fun. I do actually like PvP, it's just one of my major concerns is not ever being able to queue for it in a timely manner. So that's the one positive from the Moogle Tome event that I found actually out of this, is my ability to actually enjoy PvP. For what it is, basically. And, you know, I prefer PvE, but if I'm going to have regular, you know, instant queue PvP on hand, I will actually do it. And it's been quite fun, to collect some of the items for sure. But apart from that, we do have everything about to change with 5.1. So there's no official date on that patch. Obviously, we're looking at the sort of latter end of October, they previously said in the last live letter. But we do have a live letter coming up this Friday, which is guaranteed to give us a confirmed date. Now, everyone's speculation at the minute and educated guesses are leaning towards the 29th of October, which is a Tuesday, sort of like the last Tuesday before the end of the month. So that would make sense and sort of checks out if you do the prediction math of how they usually drop these patches. So we should sort of see it around that time. I would imagine it will be the 29th as well, myself personally. But yeah, so that's going to be exciting, and everything is about to get really exciting with the Nier Automata raid. So in the next live letter, hopefully we sort of see more about the next Beast Tribe quest. I would love to know more information on what the mount might be. A lot of people are speculating and wanting that they want pixie wings as a mount, as opposed to just a conventional mount. That would be a really cool idea. I personally would love to see a series of winged mounts, so wings for your character that act as a mount. So we've had the angel and demon outfits in the past with those static wings. It would be really cool if they just repurpose those, animate them, and have those as actual mounts. But then again, people will make the argument of immersion. But my argument back to that is, well, we have cars and bikes and flying horses. Where is the immersion line? Where is the immersion rainbow breaking? At what point do we just say, it doesn't matter, let's just make a flying goat and you know, some wings on your character? A lot of other MMOs have done sort of really tacky looking winged mounts, so I'm not sure why we can't do that as well if we're having tacky angel and demon winged outfits. Don't really add anything to the actual outfit in general, but that's my opinion. Again, a lot of people will disagree with me, but I'm all for the idea of winged mounts. I think that would be cool. You could have like a sort of a fairy glamour and have wings to complement it. That would look really cool. But, you know, we'll have to wait and see. It's more likely we'll get something carried by the pixies like we did with the Namazu mount, like the carriage. That's always a possibility. You know, a lot of people are expecting something like that, but you never know. We might be pleasantly surprised by something new and exciting, and I really cannot wait. In other news, we have All Saints Wake, which is the Halloween festival for Final Fantasy XIV, kicking off on the 17th of October, which is actually this coming Thursday. I'm all of the hype for that, and you can expect a lot of videos on it. They have an Ahriman mount we looked at in a previous news video. Essentially, this Ahriman floating eye demon has a witch hat on its head, and you cling to its back, which is always cool. I love the repurpose of that particular skin. I think it really is quite a cool mount with the orange coloration. Can't wait to get my hands on that. They also showed off some furniture. We have an outdoors sort of like a onion carriage for the outdoors. I would have preferred that to be a mount as well, but it looks cool, and I'm sure it will add to that outdoor decoration for the season. It's definitely one of my favorite events of the year when it comes to, you know, out of all of the ones we have. I think All Saints Wake offers some of the best variety and some of the best storylines as well from the NPCs. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, 5.1 should be just over the horizon. So in terms of like the rest of this video, I thought we should look at some of the community questions again. I think we've only got 3 questions this week. Again, if you want your question answered by me, you just simply have to type question in capitals or lowercase. It doesn't matter, because when I do Control F on the comment section, it will find all of those questions for me. If I have missed your question, I do apologize. I did try to do it manually as well and go through there. But of course, you know, in the future, just put question and then what you want to ask, and I will definitely try to include it in a video. So first of all, we have a question from Eric Thompson, who asks, when making glamours for your jobs, do you have any rules in particular that you follow? I only allow 1 item from a set. Like if I have a hat from Alexander, no more Alexander items will be allowed to be added to that set. I feel that it gives more unique sets than just running around in full artifact gear. So in general, I agree that it's really cool and interesting to be as unique as you can with the creation of your outfits. I can't say that I personally limit myself all the time though. I think there are some items in the game that work perfectly together, and then usually there's like that one item, that hat or chest piece or something that looks absolutely awful. I generally try to look at outfits that I dislike and try to figure out what it is that I don't like about them and try to change them on the fly with a new item. That's usually the most enjoyable thing for me. I think the element of glamour creation I do enjoy the most is when you actually find that one item that changes the outfit completely and makes something new. Like some irritating belt that's part of an outfit that covers the entirety of a chest piece, and then you find some legs in the game that actually remove that belt magically because of clipping or whatever. Another great example would be when I find chest pieces in the game that work with a Quaintrell's ruffled skirt without making it disappear. That just makes me incredibly happy. Those are the best moments in glamour creation that sort of drives me to find more things. And I do find that the most addictive aspect of that sort of mixing and matching system. I dwell less on the rules, on sort of like any arbitrary sort of things that I have in my head, and more about what just looks good and interesting. A lot of the preset outfits that are put together and designed for the game, like the Bonewicker sets, which are my favorite in the game, are absolutely amazing together in my own opinion. But usually I try to do something slightly different by changing one or two items to make entirely new sets. You saw in one of my previous glamour videos where I used the Bonewicker caster chest, and essentially you could remove the entirety of the cape and the caped arms by just changing the legs on your character. And I thought that was really cool, the fact that it looked entirely different. It was a new outfit, a new dyeable outfit. So I was pretty hyped for that. But thank you for your question. That's usually what I approach when I go to create a glamour. Magnus Grell asks, I would love to see Siege mode added to PvP. What are your thoughts? In general, Siege mode in MMORPGs are a ton of fun to take part in. I remember trying out the ones in Black Desert Online and Arcade a few years ago, and I found that sort of scale of PvP to be really involving and an incredible feeling. In general, I love that sort of high stakes, hundreds of players sort of swarm action. It's less about the individual skill perhaps of that character and more about working as a team or outswarming the enemy at certain choke points on maps, etc. I love that sort of strategy, so it's something that I do enjoy, but would it work in Final Fantasy XIV? That's a question for someone else that's probably more technically minded than myself, but I would love to actually see them try, even in a limited capacity. It could be the thing that really truly adds a new dynamic to the PvP modes on offer currently. The only concern I have with that, and when I talked about this previously, is I don't want them to add any new PvP modes into the game until they have a roulette that covers the entirety of all of the PvP modes that never get queued into. So we don't have to rely on amazing community groups like Revival Wings to actually queue directly into that. I would like it so that Square Enix actually have a solution for this and enough rewards and incentive to actually queue for those things, especially considering they themselves are adding a new frontline in 5.1 as well. It's going to be interesting to see how many people actually do that and, you know, how this works. We need a big roulette that covers everything before we add more modes. But I would love Siege in the game if they could make it work with the limitations on sort of character display and the number of characters on screen sort of thing, with the pop in and pop out. If they could fix that just for that mode, then I'd be interested quite a bit. So thank you for that, Magnus. That's quite an interesting point. And I think we'll finish off today's video with Chiz Lemon's question. Hi, Meoni. You don't usually talk about housing. Do you enjoy housing in 14? Do you dedicate some time to it, or is it not your thing? What about a house tour video? In terms of house tour videos, the only ones I'm going to be doing are fulfilling my Patreon sort of pledges. I did actually have a tier where I would do a housing tour of individual people. I won't be doing one on my own house currently. That's not to say I will never do one, but we're currently in the process of merging with another FC in the game, and we're also waiting for 5.1 to get a large house. So there's not really much point in me decorating properly, which is why I've not continued with my sort of videos where I said I was going to redesign the house. I didn't think there was much point in doing that until we're sure where we're going to be and we're more comfortable in a situation, especially considering this merge as well. But, you know, in the future, I would definitely look at doing that. In terms of housing videos, Mary has some incredible videos. I will link her channel at the top of the description of this video. You should definitely go and support her. She makes some incredible housing videos. If you like housing tours, she's really the sort of person to watch for that content. So yeah, I would definitely recommend watching her videos. But yeah, in general, I love housing. I mean, I do a lot of the housing item videos, the furniture. I like it when we get some nice chunky cupboards and, something different in housing, some animated stuff. We haven't seen a lot of animated items in housing in the sort of latest batch with Shadowbringers. So I'm hoping we get some like spinning disco balls or something like that in the future. That would be quite fun. But yeah, in general, I do like housing. It's something that's controversial to a lot of people, considering it's quite difficult to get housing in the game. In general, I think the housing system as it currently is a complete joke. I think it's very unfair for new people to actually get a house. And the current way that you actually get a house if someone gets it demolished with the hidden timer and stuff is complete garbage. And hopefully they sort of address that in the future. But for now, it is an absolute nightmare to actually get a house in the first place. So, I can feel for all of the people who were unlucky, basically, to get one. But yeah, the housing as a whole, like when you do actually have a house, controversially, I think that the limitations on the amount of housing items you can have in a house, like both outside and inside, is actually quite a good thing. Mostly because I think it makes you think more about each item's value to you. I always think you can get more out of limitations than you can if it was an unlimited amount of items, but that's just me personally. Either way, thank you all for your questions and community feedback this week. Hopefully this has been an interesting tea time with Meoni. I've tried to cover some sort of different topics. I'm looking forward to the future, and of course we'll have another one of these next week. And I'll keep on making videos. So thank you all kindly for watching and supporting me each and every week. It means the absolute earth to me. And I will indeed see you all next time.